A Black Lives Matter co-founder is openly repudiating Joe Biden, accusing him of being part of what she calls the violent white supremacist system. In this video, we're going to take a look at the loss of support Biden is experiencing among BLM activists, how that loss of support is actually turning into a civil war from within the Democratic Party, and how this may indeed be the beginning of the end of politicians like Joe Biden. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. If you're new to our channel, we analyze current events, analyze some super awesome conservative trends so we can all live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Come on now, smack that bell and subscribe button. It'll be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we together celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Before we dive in here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at Virtual Shield. Gang, if you're not using a VPN or virtual private network on your desktop, tablet, or mobile device while browsing the internet, then you really are exposing yourself to a lot of potential danger. But, protecting yourself online has never been easier. So let me show you. Here's all you got to do. Go to virtualshield.com, download the free 30-day trial, install it, and click connect. Once I'm connected, do you see how my IP address is now different than before? I'm now basically invisible on the web. So if you don't want websites or the government or advertisers or anyone else for that matter knowing your website activity, then you need to download this VPN. Now, to make it even better, Virtual Shield is offering our audience 50% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. So don't wait. It's a limited time offer. Click on that link in the description below and sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN today. All right, gang, so let's dive right in here. The co-founder of the Black Lives Matter chapter in LA, Los Angeles, has come out and stated unequivocally that she will not be voting for the Democrat nominee Joe Biden for president. And her reason is that she argues that he is an entrenched part of what she calls a violent white supremacist system. Dr. Melina Abdullah, who's a Pan-African Studies professor at Cal State University in LA, makes the argument that, quote, people are feeling dismayed that the choices are between, a violent white supremacist, on the one hand, and another person who represents the same system. Now, did you hear that? For a number of BLM activists, Joe Biden is no different than Donald Trump. Trump is a supposed white supremacist, but Biden is every bit a part, indeed, an entrenched part of a violent white supremacist system. In other words, what we're hearing here is a major founder of a Black Lives Matter chapter is now going after their fellow left-wing liberals who happen to be the wrong color. Now, the one thing I'll say about Professor Abdullah is that she is consistent. At a rally in Los Angeles several weeks back, Abdullah publicly denounced the city of Los Angeles as filled with what she called liberal white supremacists. Again, note the key phrase here, liberal white supremacists. Responding to a sign held up by one of the protesters that said, F Donald Trump, this professor, and keep in mind, yes, this is a professor, she said, and I quote, as we talk about a white supremacist terrorist like Donald Trump, remember that we live in a city that is largely liberal white supremacists. So when you say F Donald Trump, make sure you say F Eric Garcetti. Now, if you don't know, Eric Garcetti is the ultra-left mayor of Los Angeles who recently announced $150 million in cuts to the LA Police Department to show his fealty, his fidelity to Black Lives Matter's call to defund the police. But obviously, as we see from our dear professor here, it's not good enough. And it's not good enough because Eric Garcetti still presides and indeed perpetuates a white supremacist system. In the logic of BLM, Eric Garcetti is your quintessential liberal white supremacist, which renders him equivalent to the white supremacy advocated and defended supposedly by Donald Trump. So if you say F Trump, make sure you also say F Eric Garcetti. Now, unless you think this is an anomaly, this professor, whose salary, by the way, is paid for by the taxpayers of California, keep in mind, she's not alone. This meme of the liberal white supremacist has actually been rather prevalent in black nationalist rhetoric. Tariq Nasheed of the foundational Black American movement has used the term to designate white liberals who fail to make a distinction between blacks who've been here in America for centuries as descendants of slaves and black immigrants who have only recently come to America but expect all the same benefits. White liberals are quick to simply blend these two distinct groups together in their college entrance requirements. For example, giving a rich Nigerian immigrant the same admittance privileges as a middle-class black American who's the descendant of slaves. Now, while I certainly think he has a point there, very interesting, it's essential to note that this rhetoric is demonstrably making white liberals very, very nervous. The New York Times recently published a piece showing how white liberal activists are growing more and more concerned about the rhetoric they're hearing from black activists who are increasingly becoming just as quick to turn on white liberals as they are on Republicans and Trump supporters. So what is going on here? What kind of sense should we make of leftists turning on leftists simply because they happen to be the wrong color? Well, the mainstream media isn't going to be reporting on this, but it all comes down to the fact that the Democrat Party is going through its own civil war that's going to go on way beyond November, no matter what the outcome. The Democrat Party is going through its own civil war, and it's a civil war between the old bourgeois white neoliberal like Clinton and Pelosi and Biden on the one side, and the new BLM ethnocentric tribalists on the other. In other words, we're seeing a battle between the new left, the BLM Antifa left, and the old establishment bourgeois left, which is increasingly being called the liberal white supremacist left. We all saw the Civil War play out over the summer. It all started with that Minneapolis soy boy Mayor Jacob Fry and his humiliation at a BLM rally where he was forced to take the walk of shame as demonstrators demanded he get the F out of there. We saw something similar with Ted Wheeler, mayor of Portland, when Antifa and BLM crowd he was marching with actually turned on him and they demanded that he resign. And so he made a complete 180 and admitted that Antifa was deliberately attempting to commit murder in his city, right? Then you had Jenny Durkin, the ultra-left mayor of Seattle and once brave defender and supporter of the Chaz Autonomous Zone. She's facing a major recall effort led by leftists upset that she allowed police to use tear gas to disperse demonstrators and rioters. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Think of the feud, the all-out feud between New York Mayor Bill de Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo, who actually threatened to remove de Blasio from office. In every one of these cases, we're seeing clearly left versus left, Democrat versus Democrat, the new Antifa BLM left versus the old establishment white bourgeois left, the AOCs versus the Nancy Pelosi's, the Rashida Tlaibs versus the Joe Bidens. Remember, it was reported after the Democrat convention, how convenient, right? But we found out only after that cringevention mercifully came to an end that over 1,000, you heard that right, over 1,000 Democrat delegates voted against their party's platform. That's unprecedented. Again, keep in mind, the Democrats refused to release the roll call during their cringevention. They just announced it after the cringevention ended. But now the tally is out, and to the astonishment of many pundits, we're finding out that over 1,000 of their 3,500 delegates had rejected the platform. Make no mistake, the Democrat Party is in a civil war. It's in a fight for its soul, what little it has. And our nation's cities have turned into battlegrounds with this civil war. The left today is destroying itself. And not only is it destroying itself internally, but it's alienating itself more and more from average Americans. The more damage leftist radicals inflict on our cities, the more local businesses they destroy, the more they harass law-abiding citizens to clench the fist of this odious Marxist symbol, the more they are red-pilling people like never before. So where did this civil war come from? Well, before we get into that, we've got a special free offer just for you. We, of course, are in an election year, and all our presidential elections, few were as stunning as the election of Donald Trump 4 years ago. But the question, of course, is how could so many of our elites, from our mainstream media to our political pundits, how could they have been so wrong in 2016 and still not get it in 2020? That's what my book, President Trump and Our Post-Secular Future, explores. In its pages, you'll discover precisely what our political class missed, and they continue to miss, that the election of Donald Trump was nothing less than a symbol of the end of secular globalism as our dominant political paradigm. And so throughout this book, you'll discover the various ways in which Trump's nationalist populism is redefining politics for the foreseeable future. And to make it even sweeter, to make it even better, for a limited time, you can get my book, President Trump and Our Post-Secular Future, absolutely free as an ebook download by clicking on the link in the pinned comment section. That's right, absolutely free. This is a limited time offer, however, so do not wait. Click on that link right now in the pinned comment section and get your free copy of my book, President Trump and Our Post-Secular Future, today. All right, so what's causing this Democrat civil war? Well, scholars over the last 3 decades have noticed that the politics of more and more populations have been moving away from economic paradigms, which was the 20th century paradigm for understanding, say, the difference between the political left and political right, capitalism versus communism, right? Populations were moving away from an economic-centered politics to a politics that's now centered more on identity and nationalism and culture and ethnicity and race. And if we understand that, then we'll notice that even within our political left, we're seeing a shift away from economics and political liberalism as their dominant paradigms. And the left is moving more and more towards questions such as, who are we? What is our identity? What is the nature of our loyalty to that identity? Well, how does my race factor into it? What's our unique culture and customs and way of life? What's my history? And if we recognize that that's the new political paradigm, both on the right as well as the left, then we'll see that Black Lives Matter actually finds itself right smack in the middle of what's known as the emerging ethno-nationalism, or the new tribalism going on all over the world, which ironically, as I've argued in other videos, it ironically puts them more on the political side of what we call the alt-right. BLM is a radical ethnocentric movement, and as old school white liberals are finding out, as BLM grows more and more in power in the Democratic Party, there's going to be less and less room for the likes of old white libs like Joe Biden. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on the colossal fall of Chris Wallace. You are not going to want to miss that. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.